Hello, and welcome to our DM deep dive at D&D in the Castle. We are streaming actually live from the castle right now that it is happening. D&D in the Castle, our spring season 2025. And I have here as my guest, Mr. Guy Sclanders, who has agreed to chat with us, who's here running a campaign right now.
Yes, that's right. Day one is done.
Day one of D&D in the Castle. This round is complete. So, first of all, welcome to the castle. Welcome to our DM deep dive. We're excited to talk about what you have in store for your players right now, what's happening at D&D in the Castle, and about the campaign that you're planning for the autumn. We'll be back here in the UK for D&D in the Castle again for 2 more rounds.
Yes.
So, what are you doing right now?
Right now, my players have had a mystery thrown at them, and they are trying to solve a whole bunch of riddles about politics, a wedding, possibly dragons, possibly a swamp that may or may not be alive and that gets irritated when they do things. The big challenge is that they are basing everything that they are currently doing off of one letter written by someone to someone else. And there's not a lot of information as to whom is to what or to where. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of questions. They have spoken to at least 5 corpses, most of whom they made, to try and get answers, only to discover that the corpses don't know very much either. So yes, but they have managed to make it all the way across this horrific swamp, and they have just arrived at a castle, which they all expected to be a giant castle under siege. It's just ruins.
Ooh.
So yes.
So we have behind me an icon of sorts, a flag.
A flag.
We have a flag at D&D in the Castle. So this is a flag from your game.
Yes. This flag was designed by the players over the last 2 months before the game. So we've been chatting away and plotting and conniving and coming up with stuff. And because the campaign is about them traveling to a castle, you can't claim a castle if you don't have a flag.
Right.
Everybody knows the rules. So I said to the players, you need a flag, come up with a flag. So they came up with this wonderful flag, which we then said, you know what, we have to have a real flag.
We have to have a real flag.
Yes. So the flag has become a rallying point. They designed the whole thing. So super excited. Yeah.
Very cool. So you've been to D&D in the Castle a number of times. Off the top of my head, I didn't do a count before this interview, but it's a number.
It's a number. It's a high number.
Yeah. So you've been coming for a little while, playing with different groups every time, and sort of different campaigns every time. And how has how has your experience at D&D in the Castle evolved over those times of being here?
How has it evolved? My goodness, that's a long list of wonderful things that have happened, and the base hasn't evolved. It's amazing. It's wonderful. I accept the invitation to come back every time because I'm like, yes, I am there. I'm going to play in this amazingly beautiful, wonderful space with amazing folk as well. In terms of the evolution, it's become all of the extra stuff that goes on, the checking in and all of that. That is now, it's so slick and it's so cool that you just get to play and you just get to experience, and everything else is taken care of in the background. It's like yes. And one of the players was saying, would it be possible for me maybe just to have some honey for my tea? There's a mountain of honey that's suddenly about, so from an experiential perspective, all of the day-to-day problems just have vanished. And it's just wonderful.
I mean, time is funny in the castle. I was just saying earlier, I don't know what happens to hours in this castle.
No, we just did 8 hours of gaming, and we get to 6 p.m. and we're like, oh, we have to stop. And everyone's like, do we have to? We're like, yeah, because there's food and there's stuff, and
And you need to get into your costume.
Yeah, I need to, I need
so
to
what's
change.
going on here? Tell us what's going on here. I mean, you dress like this all the time at the castle. People do ask that.
I mean, so you're certainly welcome to do it if you like, and seeing some of the costuming that people bring over is wonderful. I will take any excuse to put on costuming, especially here, because sure, this is a replica that was put together, and it's not 100% authentic at all. But I do the guided tour, which is a reflection on the history of this castle. It's 2,000 years worth of history, which I will never stop talking about because I absolutely love it. But by putting on clothing that is of the time from this castle's past, when I walk through certain parts of the castle, and you got to know which parts you're walking through, I am literally wearing the clothing of people who walked through that door when this clothing was everything. It was the rage. It was the style. And I can think and go, someone wearing this was worried about Scottish invasions, was worried about which Henry was sitting on the throne, was thinking about how they could marry their daughter off to gain more land, was having a land war with the nearby Bishop of Durham over who had coal mining rights, and you change up your costume and suddenly you've leapt forward 300 or 400 years and you're like, oh, well, now we're worrying about what's happening in the Americas, for example, or what's happening in Africa. And that is so much more immersive. I was standing with one of the DMs out on the balcony last night, and we were both in sort of very, very basic medieval garb. And you go, I don't have to imagine being a god on duty. This is what the god, he would have had the same weather conditions, would have been looking out at a view somewhat different, but still seeing that building and that building, because those were there 1,000 years ago. And you go, it's just magic. It's magic.
It's kind of like that. I think that's a metaphor also for being in a castle playing D&D. The environment that you immerse yourself in, it just allows you to experience it, the experiences of the characters in a different kind of way.
Yes.
So you're doing a campaign with some flags, a flag in a castle this time. You are coming back again. Your tables are both sold out this round, and quite quickly they sold out.
Right,
In fact, you were originally only coming to one event of these two back-to-back rounds that we're doing. But your table sold out so fast that we had to add another one for all of the screaming fans who just can't get enough of Guy. And so we've invited you to come back, and you've graciously agreed in the autumn, in November this year. So what have you got planned for that event? What's your campaign going to be about?
Well, I have fallen in love with the 3-day format that happens here. And so we've got a setting that when I look at it now, I'm like, this kind of reads like the Ravenloft setting. It is not in any shape or form like Ravenloft setting. Ravenloft is an amazing little campaign, and there's lots of cool stuff going on. Mine is, imagine you have this vampire who is really, really on the ball, but has completely lost it, but has won the war against good. And now suddenly you are having to try and figure out how you can salvage this. You are in this post-apocalyptic kind of environment. And what are you as the hero? What are you going to try and do to salvage it? So the groups that will be playing in November, they have a Mount Everest of difficulties to overcome, all the while with this psychopathic vampire running around and all of his minions and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to say very much more than that, but yes, there's politics, there's intrigue, there's combat, right? And it's I'm very excited for it.
That's awesome. And I believe there is still some space at your tables in November. Those events, for those who are interested in joining us in the fall for D&D in a Castle, are November 3rd to 7th and November 10th to 14th. And there is some space left in some of the campaigns, but some of them are selling out, so tickets are going quickly. So if you want to come and play with Guy at D&D in a Castle in his Vampire Apocalypse campaign, that's great. I'm wondering, you've been to the castle every time, and every time it's different, because it's a different adventure. Even if it's the same adventure, it's a different party, and we all know they don't make the same choices, and the same things don't happen twice.
No.
So who's in your group this time around, and what brought them to D&D in a Castle, and what brought them to your game in particular?
Well, a couple of folks have been here before. And they're like, oh, well, we've heard the games you've been running, and we really wanted to participate, and we like having a flag. So
the flag brings the people.
Flag, you've got a flag,
I'm in.
And several of the folks are fans of the YouTube channel. They're like, well, we've seen the YouTube channel, we've got the books, now we want to play. And so that's a wonderful father and son have come through. And it's so cool to see the two of them playing together, because there's moments where it's dad and son, and then there's moments where no, it's hero and hero, and they are helping each other out, and they're doing things. It's just
I love that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely wonderful, and it's a very sneaky party, except for one, who is a paladin on a warhorse, and then everybody else is like, yeah. So, but they've worked out a dynamic that allows them to really capitalize on that. And so they've faced some challenges. They've survived an assassination attempt. They've survived a flock of wyverns. They have had a very close call with a whole bunch of cold-blooded killers. And that one came down, it literally came down to them being able to make use of the terrain, because they were in this sort of multi-level terrain thing. And they didn't panic. They did it. Two of them went for a swim during the combat, which
is an interesting choice.
They didn't really have a choice, unfortunately. The dice today I have been rolling terribly. Absolutely terribly. The players have been rolling really, really well, except for two saves where you're like, oh, it's only this, you got it. Don't even worry rolling. And they kind of roll, and they're like, oh, that's a 1. You're like, you're going for a swim, goodbye. So, yeah.
So we're sitting right now in your gaming room.
Yes.
Which is a lovely, spacious lounge looking out over the countryside. Lots of natural light. It's a very grand sort of space. We can't show it right now, but I can see that you have a lot of things. There's a lot of things in your game.
Yes.
Terrain. I think I can see the castle in the room. And how does this environment? And you said the 3-day campaign that you've fallen in love with that format. How does it affect the game? What is it about that format that you have fallen in love with?
Well, especially this kind of space, right? Because oftentimes you'll go to an event and it's like, okay, it's a really small room. Thank you for playing. Everyone sort of sits on top of each other. And this time around, I was like, well, I know the castle's got big rooms. So I sent you guys a message saying, so can I have a 6-foot by 6-foot table? And then another 6-foot by 6-foot table, because I need more tables. And yes, I have put together a lot of terrain. The castle is, for this campaign anyway, central to the idea, or hopefully central to the idea. Where the players take the story is entirely up to the players. And there was one moment where they're like, yeah, we know everything is pointing there, but there's also stuff up there in the desert waste. I'm like, yeah, let's see where we go. But yes, amazing terrain. And when you set it up and you have the windows looking out over this amazing English countryside, it just feels so much realer and more tangible. It's wonderful. It's super cool. I mean, the players sit down, they're like, okay, cool, let's play. And then you go, okay, cool. Well, here's some terrain that I made. And the players are like, I'm just going to pull out my phone and just take a whole bunch of photographs quickly because I can't help myself because it's so exciting. And, the fact that the players all have their miniatures, which it's Hero Forge's color printed miniatures. They all sat down. They're like, oh, that's me. And that investment is there as well, which I think is just part of this feeling.
Yeah. I hear that from a lot of the the dungeon masters about the level of play that happens because of the level of commitment and investment from the players themselves. And you said that a couple of them were familiar with the channel and familiar with you and had purchased your books. So you were running a channel called How to Be a Great GM. And that's not running anymore, but it still exists.
Oh, yes.
People can still find it.
All the
So
content.
where is your new
there.
stuff coming from?
So my new channel is called Guide to Adventure. And what Guide to Adventure is all about is I go to a location. So it could be a historic site. So I've been to an ancient abbey ruin. I've been to an ancient Japanese shrine. I was lucky to go to Japan, and I was like, hey, let's make a video while we're here. I'm going to a poison garden. So I'm traveling around, taking advantage of living in the UK. And I do a video where I try and just gather all the history of the area. And it doesn't matter whether it's from medieval period or Roman period or modern day, it's all just gathered together. And then I take all of that and I turn that into an adventure. So I'll make the maps for the location. I'll make the adventure. Well, we'll sort of come up with the adventure and then we make it and we test it and we say, okay, cool. Well, this is what came from being inspired by stuff that's all around us. And yeah, so Guide to Adventure is, it's a passion of mine. I love traveling. The more I travel, the more I see stuff. And so it's come together, and yeah, we're very excited for it.
Cool. And your books are about how to be a great GM.
Correct. So my latest book is How to Be a Great Player, which is a follow-on. So there's How to Be a Great GM, How to Create Epic Campaigns, How to Create Epic Locations, and now How to Be a Great Player. And the joy of the player book is that I collaborated with a couple of the GMs from the castle. They gave input into what they think makes a great player, and there's some other GMs as well that have contributed. But all of the books are designed to be, here are some ideas, here are some thoughts from someone who's played this game their whole life, basically, from the age of 12, observations from around the world and all that kind of stuff. And it's just guiding, saying, hey, have you thought about it doing it this way? Have you thought about it doing it that way? So yeah, very excited for those. There's another book coming out in a couple of months' time, but that's a setting book, and that's where we start moving away from
from guidance.
This is how I do it. Now here's something within which to do it.
Very cool, very cool. And what about first-time players or novice players? You know, if you're giving advice about how to be a good player, I mean, my philosophy is to be a good player, just have fun. But what are your experiences like, particularly at the castle? Have you had first-time or novice players?
It's
What's that like?
It's wonderful. So first-time players, I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to play. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know how this works. Because let me tell you, everybody at the table is sitting there going, wait, how does that work exactly? Right? And especially now with the latest edition of Dungeons and Dragons 5.24 or whatever you want to call the latest iteration, things have been tweaked. So everybody at the moment is kind of going, how does this work again? What is this? And that sort of thing. But the bottom line is, whatever you are creating, you should create based on the fact that you are interested in that character. Because sometimes people go, oh, what is the easiest to play? And you go, well, it might be mechanically the easiest to play, but you might not find that interesting. Create the character that you want to play, and learning how to play is just part of the experience. And just be open to listening to people giving you advice on, oh, well, maybe you should have put this here or there. But as you say, just start playing, but play things that you want to play.
Fun. Amazing. So we are live, I believe, and we usually when we do these, we do them on a screen where I can see people commenting and asking questions. And I didn't mention up front, but if anyone had comments or questions, we can turn to our helper in the background and see if anybody has sent any questions that they have for me or for Guy.
Yes. So we have a couple of questions that I'll pass along, both from Shane Salmi, whom you may recognize as a past D&D and a Castle guest. And Shane says, looking out for his players who should be watching, what do you have planned for your group when they enter the ruins? Be meticulously specific, including challenge rating of types of monsters.
That might be someone actually using a fake name who's playing now, or in a week's time when the second group comes through, because I'm running the same campaign. But I can tell you right now, this group changed the entire subtext of this campaign in session 0. So literally in the meet and greet, in the little 1.5 hours where everyone is getting their room keys and figuring out where their baggage is, we're like, hey, just roll some dice for me quickly. And their decisions and their interest and their backstories have completely skewed it. So the next group, they might get to the castle in the first hour of the game. This group took 8, 9, 10 hours to get there, right? So yes, the castle itself, the concept for the campaign is that they arrive at this ruined castle and someone has been through this castle looking for something. And they realize that if they don't rebuild this castle, there is an army that is coming. And this castle is almost like the gateway into their kingdom. So if it is not up and running and able to defend, this mega army of evil is just the army of the scale is just going to wash through. So day 2, hopefully, they're going to be rebuilding the castle and discovering all of the secrets of what's under the castle. Because, and this is as much as I'm going to say, the model of the castle, which is 6 foot by 6 foot in size, is designed to split open. For whatever reason, I ain't saying. That will be discovered possibly on day 3. But that's where we are.
Amazing. I have one more question, because I know you are having to go and guide some people around the castle and tell them about the history of England as represented through this amazing building. But I'm wondering, so one of the reasons we like to do these deep dives is, and the feedback that we've gotten is, people want to know, what are the DMs like? What are the campaigns going to be offered? How do I choose a campaign that is going to really be for me? As much as our DMs, our dungeon masters, do incorporate the players and they really care about customizing their games to the players, they're still bringing their campaign and their style and and we want them to do that, to give them the campaign that they can only get from Sclanders, for example. Right. So how would, if you were coming as a player to D&D in a castle, how would you go about picking your campaign and your dungeon master at the event? What advice would you give?
It's a great question. And it really does boil down to doing a little bit of research, because some of the DMs here, and to be clear, I would play with any of the DMs here, right? Every DM here is telling an amazing story. And I know, because when we sit at breakfast or at lunch and we have 10 minutes to chat with each other before rushing off, it's like, oh, what's your campaign? And they describe the campaign. You're like, can I need to finish my game because I'm loving my game, but I also want to play your game. So how do we, how can we do it? So the bottom line is to do a little bit of research, to look at the GM style. And I think that one of the strong points is that when you look at the roster of DMs that are available on any given event, there's different styles, right? And there's, this DM is really good at NPC, so that you can expect lots of NPC interaction and that sort of thing. Or their background is they're game designers. And you go, okay, right. So that game, there's going to be some technical mechanics going on. You look at some DMs, you're like, I can just see by the photograph that these guys are just a barrel of fun. And so I don't want to have to worry about deep politicking or that kind of stuff. I just want to have a great time and relax and unwind and kill monsters with my buddies, right? Yeah. So that would be my first port of call. And a lot of them will have live streams that they have run. So have a look at that. And we all have different likes. I like more mystery and that kind of stuff as opposed to mega combat. Well, I'm going to go with the DMs who are offering that, right? And then there's hardcore mode. Right. I don't like sleep. I'm going to go play hardcore mode, right? So
just one more D&D.
Just one, exactly.
Cool. Well, I'm going to ask you to take us out. I think we can look down this camera and invite the people to come and join in your campaign at D&D in the Castle this November.
Right.
And take us out.
Okay. Oh, I've never done a live stream before. Lovely. So I invite you, I task you to come and join me in November to try and rid the world of this terrific and terrible menace that has overtaken the lands and restore some semblance of hope to the people that have been abandoned by all of the leaders. We need you. And now you may go, because it's over, sadly. Unless you come back in November.
Well, thank you so much. If you have questions for us or for Guy, please come and find us on dndandcastle.com. And otherwise, we will see you all at the castle. Take care.